Hello, hello. I'm Sarah Maneras, and I'm really excited to be coming to you as a part of Fort Collins Startup Week. We're going to be talking about navigating parenthood and entrepreneurship. So let's go ahead and let's dive in. I'm going to share my slides with you, and we can get started. So much to cover, so much to talk about, as you know. Being a parent and navigating entrepreneurship is quite interesting, right? So here we go. Like I said, I'm Sarah Maneras, and I'm a counselor. I've been in private practice since 2009. One of my specialty areas for a long time in my private practice was parenting and parent-child relationships. I've done a lot with teaching parenting classes. I did a lot with court-ordered work for a long time. I really love the parent-child relationship. I think it's vital to really nurture that and grow it. And I also know how hard it is to be a parent at the same time. Now, I am a mentor. I'm still a counselor. However, I do a lot now with business. I see a lot of couples and individuals, but I also own multiple businesses at this point. So one of the things that I do is called We Aspire Women's Business Circle, and it's a women's mastermind where we get together and we support each other. The ladies support each other in accountability and, business growth and that type of thing, which I really, really love that. I'm also a growth advocate. I have a space called the We Spot. You can find it on thewespot.com. There's a blog and a podcast. The podcast is called The We Podcast with Sarah Maneras. And all of these things are very, very growth focused, not necessarily business. Some, we do have the Women's Business Directory over on the We Spot as well, which is a really awesome space. And yeah, I just love personal growth. I love digging in. And the reality is that we are the foundation of our business, right? We are the ones that we need to grow, and our own personal work creates a stable foundation for our business, and our family fits into that as well. I'm also a writer. I do writing for the blog, and I also have a book called Looking In and Finding Out. So I would love to connect with you in any of these spaces. But let's move on to our content. So what will we cover today in this talk? Really, we're going to talk about the benefits, but mostly the challenges of being an entrepreneur. So benefits are amazing, right? But that's also not really why we're here. We're here to talk about the things that maybe we need to do differently, or how we can change things, how we can do better, right? In these areas. So mostly we'll be talking about the challenges. Also, what can we do about those challenges? How do we intervene? How do we make it easier on ourselves? And we'll be talking about interventions and tools to help you better juggle all the areas of your life, because if you're an entrepreneur, you're definitely juggling. I'm assuming, but yeah, I'm thinking I'm assuming right in that area. We're also going to talk about the business flow cycle. So recognizing and embracing where you are in that cycle. And then also acknowledgement of your situation and seasons. All of these things are super important, and they're all going to flow together. So the unique challenges of being a parent entrepreneur. The thing is that being an entrepreneur in general brings unique work-life balance challenges. So when we throw kids into the mix, it gets even more challenging. There are definitely benefits to being an entrepreneur. I love being an entrepreneur. I can't imagine doing it any other way. I think entrepreneurs in general have similar somewhat personalities where we definitely like our flexibility, our freedom, the ability to work from home, being our own boss. There are so many beautiful benefits to that. Now, there are also a lot of challenges. I know for me, when I'm home, so you're home, you must not be doing anything important, right? How many of you have experienced that? So one of the challenges is definitely family thinking, well, mom's home, dad's home, so you must be available to me at all times. You must not really be doing anything that important, otherwise you'd be at the office. And so that means I can interrupt you, or I can ask you to do things for me, and whatever that may be. I've also, faced this challenge at one point in my career with my partner. Um, it's it's a hard concept to grasp sometimes, I think, when you're not an entrepreneur, that when you're looking at your phone or you're sitting in your office or even the living room or even the bed in your home, okay? Like, we have that freedom as entrepreneurs to sit in our bed and work if we want to. It's a little difficult for people sometimes who are not entrepreneurs to really absorb that we're actually still doing something important from our bed or from the couch or wherever that may be. So that's an interesting challenge for entrepreneurs. Also, it's easy for everything to become intertwined. I think being an entrepreneur, being at home a lot, especially in the last year, right? A lot of us are home much more than we ever have been. It's really easy for all of the different roles that we play, all of the different hats that we wear to become intertwined with each other, to not know where one stops and the next one begins, right? And so that can really make things messy. Also, with COVID times and remote learning, I had a challenge for sure. I had to work from home and also help my son with remote learning, and that was very difficult. At the same time, I feel grateful that I could be home and do that because of that freedom and flexibility, but it was also quite the challenge to juggle it all. The other thing is that a lot of times we're working from our phones. And I've had my child say to me before, "You're always on your phone." And again, I'm home, I'm on my phone. So it's hard for kids to understand that that's actual work. Like, I'm not on my phone playing Tetris or something like that. I'm on my phone and I'm working. And so the thing about having work on our phones now is that our phones are always with us. Always, unfortunately. Now, this is something we can work on too. I've really been working on putting my phone away every weekend, not doing social media, not doing anything like that. We'll talk more about that when we get to the boundaries area. But working from our phones makes work constant a lot of times. And then the last one is you can't just leave it at the office. I'm sure there's lots of other challenges to being a parent entrepreneur, but these are the main ones that I really think about. So I know for me, it's really easy to walk past my home office and think, oh, I didn't finish that thing and it'll only take me 5 minutes. And so I come into the office and I go to finish it, and I'm actually in there then for an hour and a half and not 5 minutes. And so when it's constantly around us, it's constantly in our minds. And so it can be really hard to be present with our families. in our kids. So what do we do about it? How do we balance it all? And there, balance is a buzzword, right? And the thing is there really even such a thing as balance? I'm not quite sure about that. I think that it's really priorities versus balance. So constantly coming back to our priorities. We're going to do an activity here in a little while that will help you to analyze your priorities and take a deeper look at your priorities to see how you're doing in that area. But I think that work-life balance is something that can really throw people off because they're really striving, right, for this balance that I'm not sure is just totally realistic. And so what are your priorities? What are your priorities at the moment? And focusing on those rather than focusing on the balance. So step one is always awareness. Always, always, always. We can get into this place of chaos and busyness and, getting sidetracked by all these million different things. And it's really easy to get into this stressful pattern and allow that pattern to just become ingrained in us. And so in order to change that, in order to make it different, we need to bring it into our awareness. What am I doing? What are my patterns? How is this working out for me? Do I want it to be this way? How is this affecting my kids? How does my family feel about this? So right now, in this moment, as you're watching this talk, you are bringing it into your awareness, which is a very beautiful thing. So I'm going to constantly be coming back to awareness because it's key for change. It's key for really creating the life that we desire. Committing to constantly engaging in those tools and coming back to them. So we're going to be talking about some tools here, really committing to using the tools regularly. A lot of times we use a tool once and then we think, okay, that's it. I don't ever need to use that again. And then we don't come back to that tool. Well, we need to constantly evaluate. We need to constantly bring them into your awareness, right? Because we, again, drift so easily back into the direction that we don't want to be in. And so this is huge. So I commend you for being here and bringing this into your awareness. It's really, really awesome. All right. Then the second step is always expectations. So set clear and realistic expectations for both yourself and your family. So when I do parenting work and I talk with parents about parent interventions, we always, always, always focus on expectations because the reality is that a lot of times our expectations are internal and we have our own kind of list of expectations inside of our head. Sometimes those expectations are not clear. Like sometimes we have them, they're there, but we're not even really fully aware that we have that expectation. So if we're not aware of our expectations, it's really hard for us to communicate our expectations to other people. It's hard for us to say, this is what I expect from you, right? But also letting other people know what you expect of yourself is really important. It's really important for you to know what you expect of yourself because sometimes those expectations can be unrealistic. So expectations for self. What season are you in with your children? This one is huge, huge, huge. I can't say it enough. Something that I constantly come back to with parents. What season are you in? And I'll tell you, for me personally, I there have been seasons in my life where I had young children. And I think being in a season of young children brings a whole nother set of challenges, right? Now I'm in a season where I have a 9-year-old and a 20-year-old. And so they're both, my 20-year-old is living outside of the house. My 9-year-old is able to, sit in the living room while I'm in here in my office doing work. That's not something that you can do, obviously, with a younger child. And so I think it's really important to be realistic about what season you're in with your children and to understand that that season is not going to be forever. So sometimes that can feel frustrating, right? Like, I can't do this. I want to do this, but I can't because of the season that I'm in. And so, but here's the thing, I don't think we allow our season to come into our awareness. I think we just get frustrated. So, allowing yourself to be real about the season that you're in, allowing that to come into your awareness, to really evaluate how present do you need to be in each season. So, prior to kids going to school, how present do you need to be? It's huge to be able to send them to school all day, right? We haven't had that luxury the last year. And so that makes it become a whole different season. And so I think that there's so much to embracing the season, so much to saying, okay, this is where I am and this is what is realistic for me to do at this season of my life. I know that that will change. And how present do I want to be right now during this season? And making sure that that's at the forefront of your mind. That's the priority. And that's where you are basing all of your business decisions from. So when it comes to realistic expectations for children, I think it's important to think about what's developmentally appropriate for your children at their ages. It's really common for us as adults to expect our children to be older than they are, to expect them to be more responsible or understand more than what's developmentally appropriate for them. So as you're evaluating what season you're in, it's really important to think about your children and what season they're in developmentally so that you can better meet them where they are. So do they know what you expect from them? Are you making that clear? And so this is really important. I would encourage you to sit down. You can pause now and do it now, or you can come back to it and do it later. But sit down and think about all of your expectations. What are your expectations for yourself? What are your expectations for your children? Are those realistic? Are they not? Are they in alignment with the season that you're in and with the developmental age of your children? All right. Now, setting boundaries. Setting boundaries makes expectations tangible. So the expectations are important, getting super clear on those expectations, and then taking those expectations and turning them into tangible boundaries. So what are your designated work hours? Do you have designated work hours? Do you have boundaries around how many hours a day you work, how much time you spend in your office? How should your family behave during your work hours? Do they need to not interrupt you at all? Are there different times where it's okay for them to interrupt you? I know for us in our house with my son, I have different kinds of appointments, right? And some of them it's like, okay, I'm getting on a call and this one's okay for you to interrupt me if you need to. And then I have other appointments where it's absolutely, you do not interrupt me during this call. unless you're bleeding, unless the house is on fire, unless something really not good is happening, right? I'm very clear about those boundaries, and it's something that needs to be constantly communicated to him and to my husband as well. So, when is it acceptable to interrupt you? How many hours a day will you allow your work to pull you away from your family? And then, work needs boundaries and family needs boundaries in order to benefit each other. The next one is include your family in your business. So communicate, communicate, communicate. Again, going back to communicating those expectations, communicating those boundaries, so we can set expectations and boundaries all we want. But if we don't communicate them, then they're worthless. So we need to have boundaries within ourselves too, right? Like, I'm only going to allow myself to work from this time to this time, or I'm going to set boundaries for myself around when I'm on my phone or when I'm on social media or whatever that may be. So it's helpful when you communicate your own personal boundaries to your family as well. So my family knows that from Friday night until Sunday, I am not on social media. And you better believe that they will hold me accountable. They sure will. They are on board with that. So share your goals and your dreams with your family. Get your kids involved in what you're working towards. If you're working on a huge project, and that means that, you're going to be able to then go on a vacation, or you're going to have some downtime when it's over, or whatever it may be, let them know that. Be open with them. Let them get excited with you about that. It's also really awesome to create family goals and goals for your children as well. So when they're abiding by the boundaries, when they are, helping with the goals, then rewards and praise for them for those things is really awesome and important as well. So get them involved in that. Let them feel ownership in it. If everyone knows the goal, it's easier to provide, it's easier to abide by the boundaries. Also, allow your children and your partner to communicate with you about how they are feeling. This one, it can be difficult because when you're an entrepreneur, and I say this from personal experience, it's really easy to get into the, okay, go, 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 go. We need to get this done, that done. Really, I'm very goal focused. I'm very task oriented. And so sometimes I can get too focused on that. And that pulls me away from prioritizing my family or not spending too much time in my office. I love to work, you guys. Like, who loves to work? I love to work. I love what I do. I could sit in my office all day long and do my work, and it's where I feel comfortable. It's what I really love to do. And so that's not always a positive thing though, right? For our families. It's not definitely a positive thing for our children. So sometimes we need to listen to their thoughts, and we need to prioritize listening to what they're needing from us. So, you're on your phone all the time. Okay, I'm making a conscious effort now to set my phone down at least for, 2 hours a night or whatever that may be, or after a certain time. That's important information for us to gather, especially when you're a person who's really driven by your work. So I think encouraging a time for your family to talk to you through family meetings is a really great idea. A lot of the families now look like the people in this picture on the right. She's on the phone, mom's on the computer, dad's watching TV. we're constantly distracted by devices and electronics, and it's really, really easy to get disconnected from each other. So look at each other, talk to each other without distraction, prioritize those times to talk, the family meetings to come together, and really set those goals. Say how you feel, reprioritize. All right, so stay aware of your business cycle. This is the next thing I want to talk about. This is something that we talk about very regularly in my mastermind. I really believe that there's an ebb and flow to business. Most entrepreneurs expect themselves to be in the implementation stage at all times. So there are these different stages, right? This cycle. And so we're not supposed to always be in implementation. This is the hustle and the grind mentality. And this mentality is huge right now with entrepreneurs in particular. You got to hustle, you got to grind, you got to constantly be working. I actually worked with a mentor at one point who said pretty much you shouldn't be taking breaks. If you want to be successful, you've got to push through. You have to, not take a break, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. And I think that leads to burnout. And I would say after quite a few years now working with women in business, I think that that's the main thing that ends entrepreneurs' business is burnout. They're tired. They don't want to do it anymore. There has been no breaks along the way. There's been no time for fun with their family. It's been really out of balance, and their priorities have been completely off. So really staying aware of that business cycle. Which area of the cycle are you in? And accept your cycle, embrace it. So we're not always supposed to be implementing. Sometimes we're creating. And creating is hard because there's not always a lot of fruit to be seen in the creation process, right? So for those of us who want like tangible growth, the creation process can be difficult. And so a lot of times we don't allow it, but it's so vital for growing our business. The other cycle, and then create usually goes to implementation of what you've created, and then that goes to maintenance. And so sometimes we need to be okay with being in maintenance. And when we're in maintenance, we can, take vacations or spend more time with our kids or, coach football or whatever it may be. Embracing that cycle, not thinking that there's something wrong with you if you as an entrepreneur aren't always in the implementation stage. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to have breaks. Otherwise, we will burn out. Is it a new, we need to, yeah. New to business. I mean, those people who have just started out their business, I think that can really feel like a really heavy, time-consuming time. And so I think we still need to create space for downtime as well, even when we're in that implementation stage. The thing about the cycle is, this is for women, this can also be in alignment with your monthly cycle. And this is something we talk about as well in the mastermind, kind of those stages of energy, of motivation, and bringing that into our awareness so that we can plan around it, right? And we can see this is when I'm going to be so motivated and have lots of energy. And this is when I'm going to need a little bit more of a break and some rest. And so bringing that into your awareness is so important for you as a business owner, but it's also important for you as a parent, because that's when you're going to, there are going to be periods where you're more grumpy, more short-tempered, needing to have more patience, right? And so if that's already in your awareness, you're going to handle it so much better than if you're trying to avoid it. All right. This is one of my favorite activities for entrepreneurs to do. And I think this helps us to balance, right? Or prioritize what's important to us on a daily basis. So I really encourage you to create your ideal schedule regularly. Don't let yourself and your family become a victim to your schedule, which is very common in entrepreneurship. The beauty of being an entrepreneur is you get to set the rules. You don't have to be a victim to your schedule. That's why you're an entrepreneur. So at least once a year, if not more, depending on how quickly you get off track, reevaluate your schedule. Take a blank weekly calendar like the one that you see here on the screen and fill it out exactly the way that you want it to look. If this was like you had a magical wand and you could wave it over your schedule, this is exactly how you would want it to look. Write that out. When would you go work out? When would you have self-care? When would you have meetings? When would you have time with your kids and your family? What exactly would that look like? Every single thing that you want to be doing every day, how would you plan that out? And then after you do that, I think there's some evaluation of how is my current schedule living up to this? And then putting action items into place to make the ideal schedule a reality. So what can I shift? What can I change? What can I prioritize to make my actual schedule look like this schedule? And so you can go ahead and pause if you need to and write down this link at the bottom is actually a free download to this calendar that I have a picture of here on the right. I really like it because it's broken down into the half hour, all 7 days of the week. And so you can actually fill it out on the computer, or you can print it out and do it by hand, which I really love both of those options. And I love that it's free. Us entrepreneurs like free things too, right? All right. Let's see here. Next. All right. Next one is to give a good hard look at your priorities. So this is one of my absolutely favorite activities to do, to really bring into our awareness where we are and where we want to be. So we're not looking at balance, right? We're looking at priorities. Where am I putting my energy? Where do I want to be putting my energy? So this is just an example I'm showing you, but what you're going to do is you're just going to take a piece of paper and you're going to have 2 columns just like this. One is going to say real, and you can number it 1 through 7, 1 through 10, however many you want to do. And then on the other column, you're going to have ideal, and you're also going to number that out. So you're going to really take a hard look at those priorities. And the hard look is when we look at the real, right? Like, how am I really spending my time right now? What are my priorities? How are they playing out in my life? And so this can be really hard for people sometimes, because sometimes they realize, okay, work has become my number one priority, or maybe I'm making something a priority like video games, and that's over my kids. I really want you to get honest with yourself. How are you really truly prioritizing? Maybe it's social media is up there higher, or TV, or Netflix. Where are those things on your real priorities? And then write down your ideal priorities. In an ideal world, how would your priorities look? Number 1, I think, should usually be self, because you have to care for yourself. It's the trickle down, right? You have to pour into yourself in order to pour into everybody else. Partners should always come before kids. That's a tricky comment, meaning you need to be stronger partners to be able to parent together in a more cohesive and positive way. So if we're disconnected as partners, it's really hard to be good parents together. So what do you want your ideal to be? And then look at those, compare the two. How are they matching up? What are some areas that you need to change? What are some areas that you can move around? And then creating a plan for how you're going to do that. And then get support. Entrepreneurship can be super lonely. I think that, you know, we can really be out there by ourselves trying to just figure it out, right? Make sure that you're finding support. Find a group of like-minded people. I think it's important to find some who are in the same life stage as you. So I remember, you know, when I had young kids, I remember listening to a few podcasts with different entrepreneurs, and they would say, do this and do that and do this. And those entrepreneurs didn't have kids at all. And I would feel like such a loser. Like literally after I listened to them, like, oh, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that, and I should be doing this and I should be doing that. But the reality is that I was in a different season than these people, right? I had young kids at home. I didn't have the ability or the capacity to be able to do all the things that they were doing. And so I remember very intentionally stopping listening to some people because I just felt like crap every time I listened to them. Finding more people who understand the season of the life that you're in is really important, because then that helps you set those realistic expectations for that season. Also, finding individual support, mentorship, counseling, coaching, mastermind, whatever that looks like for you. And family parenting support as well, someone who will keep you present in your family. Accountability is huge, and to have people in our corner, you know, cheering us on, but also holding us accountable is really, really important. It's important for us as entrepreneurs, and it's important for us as parents, learning how to, you know, balance and prioritize all of this. All right, you've got this. You have got this parent entrepreneur thing. It is a balance, and it can be a struggle, and it can definitely pose many challenges, but you've got this. Just go back, do the activities, and then constantly come back to them. If you're feeling unbalanced or off, constantly come back to these activities to get you regrounded, recentered in creating your own ideal life and schedule, and being the parent that you want to be to your kids in the stage that they're in. So I would love to connect with you. You can find me on social media. I'm pretty active over there. Sarah Maneras on Facebook and Instagram, and then also the We Spot on Facebook and Instagram. And then, yeah, let me know how the tools are working for you. I would love to hear how these are playing out for you in your life. And then come join us in We Aspire Women's Business Circle. It's amazing mastermind with beautiful, wonderful women. It is for women only. I'm sorry, men. I am in the process of creating something for men as well, but so check back for that. But if you are a woman who is interested, you can go to thewespot.com/weaspire. But all right, parents, parent entrepreneurs, you have a hard and beautiful job. Constantly come back to your awareness, reevaluate, and you have totally got this. So thank you so much. There we go. Thank you so much. And I hope to connect with you at some point in the future. Bye.